Hi, and welcome to the Knit McKinley podcast. My name is Kara, and I blog at theknitmckinley.com about knitting and crafting and all sorts of things fiber related. I just recently started this. This is episode 3 of this blog or podcast, and I've started to sort of supplement the blog because I think sometimes it's easier to show than it is just to use still pictures on video. So welcome. I'm really excited you are here and that you've made it through a whole 30 seconds without turning away to something more interesting. So if you're interested in knitting and yarn reviews and pattern development, that is primarily what I'm going to use this space to talk about. Today, I'm actually going to focus a little bit on cotton, not just because it is a really muggy, warm summer day here in Rhode Island, but because I have been using a good bit of cotton lately, and I just want to share what I'm working on and my experience with a couple, as well as share out some details of a free pattern and tutorial that I have available on my blog that I think is actually really exciting and I think will benefit from being shown on video. So let me talk about my work in progress first. If you did see episode 2, I talked about a diagonal garter stitch scarf I'm working on. I'm still working on that, but I couldn't help myself. I have had this beautiful yarn now for close to 2 months. I had swatched it. I know exactly what I'm doing with it because the swatch came out beautifully, and I was trying so hard to finish a few other things before I cast on, and I gave in to the temptation, and I cast on yesterday. So let me hold this up, and then I'll show the work in progress as well. But look at those colors. So this is a 100% cotton yarn. It is by BzyPeach, who is a fabulous dyer out of Georgia. Oh gosh, I've got to double check. I know she's Southern. Just look at those incredible colors. So this is the Mythical Flying Reptile. If you see me looking to the right, I actually have all my notes on the right so I don't, make up colors or cotton fiber blends or whatever. So this is 100% pima cotton. This is her sock weight. It is, it's 100 grams. It's like 437 yards. It is beautiful. So this is the Mythical Flying Rectangle. Mythical Flying Reptile as in dragon inspired. So I cast on, and this is so funny because it's one of those things where you swatch so you know you're going to ultimately like the way the thing comes out. But sometimes when you first cast on and you're working like the first inch of a project and you look at it and you're like, oh man, that is messy looking. Oh man, am I gonna like this? Actually, and that's the back side of it. Let me show you the front side of it. Oh no, it's messy. Is that gonna be okay? And it's so funny because I am like 98% sure I will be thrilled with this. I've just got to trust the process and know a little bit more so I can really see what's going on with it. But if you are looking for hand-dyed, non-wool yarns, because I know there's so many good hand-dyed wool options, I will talk about plenty of them. There's some on the shelf behind me. But if you're looking for plant-based fibers, she also has tencels, and I got her Ruby Red Rosé set, which is absolutely beautiful. But this is her cotton, and this is absolutely delightful to work with. And the other thing that's really interesting is I've actually recently been playing with a lot of bamboos and cotton blends. And one of the things that's hard is they are so splitty, and it can be so frustrating because I like to knit with my lace tip needles. These are my Chow-Gu. I have Haya Sharps. And it's really hard to work with cotton blend or bamboo yarns that are really splitty. With a very pointy knitting needle, you need something maybe even stickier like a bamboo or a blunter tip. But this yarn, there isn't any splittiness to it. It's really fabulous. So highly recommend. I will probably show that at least once more as I continue working on the project, probably more than once. I'm not that fast. I am kind of a fast knitter. I also just tend to cast on at least 4-5 projects at once. So that is my work in progress. It is my cowl with the Mythical Flying Rectangle cotton from BzyPeach, which again, beautiful. So the 2 yards I want to do a review about today And the two yarns that I have knit Farmer's Market Totes out of, which is going to be the project I talk about, are Lion brand yarns. And these are big box yarns. You can pick these up at Michael's. I believe Joann's carries some of these. I think Comfy Cotton is available at Walmart because Walmart carries yarn. I don't know. And of course the Lion brand website. So the two yarns that I have are the Comfy Cotton Blend. Let me hold that up. Comfy Cotton Blend. You can see it comes in this nice little cake. And then this is the Cotton Candy Blend. Also comes in a nice little cake. Ignore the fact that this is just a little messy because I have used part of this skein. What's interesting, let's talk about the Comfy Cotton Blend first, is that this yarn, especially in this color, which is the whipped cream colorway, looks solid, but it's almost a little bit deceiving. So let me hold it up in the whipped cream color. This is what I have left actually from my Farmer's Market Tote. And with this one, you can actually see that there are two colors of yarn blended together. You can see that this is not a totally solid yarn. So the Comfy Cotton Blend is actually pretty large. It's a 200 gram ball. It's got 392 yards, 358 meters. It is 50%, I almost said 50% acrylic, but it's 50% cotton, 50% polyester. This yarn, for having a lot of cotton content, is actually not terrifically splitty. When I knit with this one, I did not experience a lot of splittiness, and it is a really large ball, so you can actually get quite a lot out of this. I will pick on Lion brand, you know, when it's appropriate. And it kind of made me laugh because on their website, they advertise this as being a skein that you could do like an entire baby blanket or an entire scarf with and not have any ends to weave in. And I was like, okay, so you mean that you don't have ends for multiple balls? Because whenever you cast on, whether you're knitting or crocheting, you're always going to have an end at the beginning when you cast on and an end when you bind off. But that's okay. I'm not going to pick on Lion brand for saying there won't magically be any ends to weave in. If they were actually to come up with a yarn that either magically didn't have ends to weave in or could weave in its own ends, let me know. I will sign up for that. So this is the Comfy Cotton. Let me show you. This is my stockinette stitch swatch. It says to knit this on a size, the recommended needle is a size 7. It's 20 stitches and 20 rows per 4 inches. My row gauge was a little bit off, but my stitch gauge was pretty right. And you can see if you knit this on the size 7, you don't get like, let's see if it'll show. It's a good weight fabric. Stockinette stitch cotton, even with a little bit of washi and blocking, is still going to curl on itself. So what's interesting is with the whipped cream, and I will show the silver lining color in a couple moments, this really reads as a solid color. And it looks very solid, but it really is those two colors blended together just really subtly. I'd also done this as a swatch. I was going to do something more creative. You can see I just have angled stitches there, and it really does. Like, that just looks like a solid yarn. Let's switch over to the Cotton Candy Blend. So the Cotton Candy Blend, I'm not sure if they're going to keep this. This is a brand new yarn. This yarn has actually been out for a couple of years. It's brand new to me. But this yarn is brand new this year. This is the Cotton Candy Blend. This came in a couple of different colors at my local Joann's. I picked the white because the white was actually what drew me to the yarn. I didn't love the other colors that they had. And let me maybe do the yarn stats and then talk about what I did and didn't like about the yarn. So this is a slightly smaller cake. It is 142 grams. It has 271 yards, 248 meters. It is a slightly different blend. This is actually 52% polyester to 48% cotton. Now what's interesting is, even though this is a lighter yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it out along with a little scrap of my Comfy Cotton, if I can just find the ends. These yarns are the same weight. They are both lightweight yarns. They both recommend a size 7 needle, and they both say the gauge is 20 stitches to 4 inches and 20 rows to 4 inches. So, but what's interesting is when I hold them up, and let's actually see if I can do this well. Maybe I can, maybe it won't actually focus if I cover up my face. Will it? Yep. You can actually see with the twist, with the twisted cotton candy blend up here, it is almost exactly the same. But when I knit with them, the experience of knitting with them is that this was a finer yarn. Now they don't look particularly different, but when I talk about the experience of knitting, this felt like a finer and lighter yarn. This yarn also split for me a little bit. It is, and it wasn't the colored thread that went around it that split for me. It was the actual fiber, the actual like cotton poly white base blend that did the splitting for me. So let me show you that swatch. So this swatch is actually a lot of fun because of the color. So let's hold this up without overly stretching it because I'm not trying to, make it look other than what it did. Now this, and I'm just trying to find the right angle. I've got windows, just so you know my setup. I have windows on both the right and actually facing me. And I have them open because it is summer in Rhode Island and I have a beautiful historic house that does not have air conditioning in it. So there may also be occasional noise. And so let's see if I can find just the right angle to sort of, all right, I think that's doing an okay job of showing you. And what's interesting about this yarn is you can see it creates a very similar fabric to the Comfy Cotton blend, but because of the shiny fabric in my swatch, it actually has some color pooling because the shiny thread with greens, yellows, pinks, oranges, and almost like a pinky purple color, it does pull a little bit, which I thought was interesting. So I really liked working with both of these yarns. This yarn, again, the white is probably the only one that I would use and pick, and I would probably really only use this for a novelty item. I really can't see doing a shirt or a garment out of this. It might make a cute hat, but again, the other colors that it came in, and my Joann's had it in a couple colors, like it had a blue base and a green, a pink, and then a yellow. I didn't love the tones that those colors came in. So good knitting experience, didn't love the colors, was a little bit splitty. Also a good knitting experience, but didn't have the splittiness that I found with the cotton candy blend. So it'll be interesting to see which of these come back next year. The Comfy Cotton has been out for a couple of years. I bet that one comes back. The cotton candy, on the other hand, feels a little bit more like a novelty and a little bit more like it just has really limited uses. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. One of the neat things about Lion Brands is the way that they reinvent yarns somewhat frequently. So I am putting those aside so I can go ahead and grab out my 3 Farmer's Market totes. So the pattern that I want to talk about today is my Farmer's Market tote. This is a free pattern on my blog, and I did something I haven't really done before. I actually did a full picture tutorial of the tote and each step involved, because this is worked in a single piece, and a huge part of it, the majority of the bag, is worked in the round, but I don't think it's a super hard piece to knit. So I wanted to show off the 3 bags. So this is the Farmer's Market tote in the Comfy Cotton in the silver lining color. I also did one in the whipped cream colorway. Let's hold that up. This is the whipped cream. That is the yarn that I just showed you the swatch in. And then the third one I did was to play with that Comfy Cotton, because I saw it in the store. It just it seemed fun. So this is the Comfy Cotton. And actually, so far as color pooling goes, this is much more subtle. So you're doing a lace pattern and garter stitch, and I don't think that the pooling is terrible at all in this. So let me actually show the silver lining yarn a little bit closer, because with the silver lining, you can actually see those 2 colors, the tonal quality of the Comfy Cotton that I was saying you couldn't really see with the whipped cream. So let me figure out how to hold this up close. So I think you can see it just a little bit, that there's actually a light and a dark color to this yarn. And what's really interesting is that gives it like a really subtle depth that a lot of big box store cottons don't have. So if you get a sugar and cream, or if you get like peaches and cream yarn, those come in variegated and those come in stripes and these come in solids. But none of those are really tonal yarns. Like a tonal yarn is one where the solid color has a little bit of depth in it. It's like the same color in both like a lighter and a darker shade together. So let me show you. This is what I had left over after knitting that Farmer's Market Tote. And when I hold it up, I think you can even see it a little bit better. It's even unravel it a little bit. Let's have it not focus on my face though, but focus on the yarn. And I think you can really see that there are those, it's just a nice little two-tone color there. So the Farmer's Market Tote itself is knit with a garter stitch base that you work in the diagonal. So what you actually do is you cast on in one corner, you do increases until you reach your width. Then you work diagonal garter stitch before you decrease again to the bottom corner. So this whole base is worked flat. It's worked back and forth in garter stitch, but you knit it on the diagonal. And then what you do is you go around and you pick up stitches and you do, so you can see where the direction changes, right where I'm pushing the fabric at you. Sorry, that may not be the most helpful way to show this. So you pick up stitches and then you begin working in the round. You do a couple rounds of garter stitch in the round, and then you switch to a much larger size needle and you work the lace pattern. So the lace pattern gives you a really stretchy bag. You work the garter stitch on a smaller needle so that you have a nice solid base, and then you do a lace, and then you bring it back down to your original smaller needle size to knit the top, also in garter stitch. And I did this with handles that you would grab like a shopper. You could very easily, I think, and creatively modify the handles. You could either cast off more stitches and make that hole bigger, your handle bigger, and have something over your shoulder, or you could cast off and then do shoulder straps, either one giant shoulder strap or two. I don't have pattern or directions for that. I'm simply encouraging you to experiment and explore with the pattern because I really like having the grippy handles. So what I did online is in the blog, I have both the PDF. So if you are a fairly confident advanced beginner or intermediate knitter who is ready to just cast on and go, the PDF pattern is available for you. What I did with the blog post is I went through and did a picture for each step. So you can really beginning with your cast on, to working the garter stitch and diagonal, to picking up your stitches, to switching to the lace and then back to the garter. There's a picture for each of those steps. And I did that because I think that this pattern is actually a really good one for somebody who is ready to learn each of the steps, but maybe just needs a little bit more help than a plain written pattern would provide. So that is out there. And I had knit the first two. I'd actually finished the tutorial and I was in Joann's and I saw this third yarn and I was like, well, you know what? That is just a lot of fun. So I have a third Farmer's Market Tote in that cotton candy blend, which is, it's good. They're reusable bags. They'll get use. They'll go to the farmer's market at the grocery store. But that's what I wanted to share today. I wanted to talk about those two yarns, both of which were a pretty good experience, as well as share this, I almost just called it the cotton candy tote, the Farmer's Market Tote pattern with you. So this tote is really quite simple to do. It's garter stitch, and then you need to be able to do yarn overs and slip slip knit and knit two together decreases. If you know how to bind off and then cast back on, you'll have every skill that you need to knit the whole bag and the handles. So that is what I have for this very cotton infused, I keep wanting to call this the blog. The blog's not quite the right word. It's kind of a podcast, kind of a vlog. We'll call this the very cotton yarn infused vlog today. So that is what I have. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like. If you have any questions or comments about the pattern or about other yarns you'd like to see reviewed or frankly played with, because that is what I am over here doing, playing with lots of yarn, please go ahead and leave a comment. I am super interested in hearing what you would like. And in the meantime, I am going to take my knitting and probably go sit outside on the deck with the dog because it looks like the rain is going to hold off, which means I can take my Mythical Flying Rectangle yarn. I keep calling it the Mythical Flying Rectangle. The Mythical Flying Reptile yarn, and have just a really nice Sunday on my porch. Thanks. I hope you have time to make something today.